I think we have entered a new Cold War. I think we're in a multipolar system, and I think the United States, China, and Russia are the three great powers. And the United States is certainly in a Cold War with China. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? I think as a result of the fact that China is so powerful and threatens to dominate East Asia, and that the United States will almost certainly go to great lengths to prevent that from happening, you axiomatically have an intense security competition in China. And I, excuse me, think you've seen evidence of this over the past few years. And for me, an intense security competition is a Cold War. And I distinguish a Cold War from a hot war. A hot war is when two countries like the United States and China actually get into a fight with each other. And of course, that's what we want to avoid. But the fact is, we are in a Cold War with the Chinese, or the Chinese are in a Cold War with us. It's an intense security competition. And the name of the game is to make sure that security competition or that Cold War does not turn into a hot war. Now, this raises the question, what about Russia? Well, it's quite clear that since we moved into multipolarity, the Russians and the Chinese have been close allies against the United States. And this is largely a result of the Ukraine war, which has pushed the Russians and into the arms of the Chinese and caused the Chinese and the Russians to have very close relations. So the United States, certainly through the Biden administration, was involved in a Cold War with the Russians as well as the Chinese. Now, what's happened with President Trump is he tried to change that situation. He doesn't want to have an intense security competition with Russia. And in fact, if anything, what the Trump administration would like to do is have good relations with Russia and make it a Russia plus U.S. alliance arrayed against China. I think that's the basic goal of President Trump. But he's been unable to make that happen. And the end result is that the United States is basically still in a Cold War with Russia as well as with China. And in both cases, we want to make sure, as I said before, that Cold War or those Cold Wars don't turn into a hot war. And if anything, if you look at what's happened with regard to Ukraine in recent years, if there is one place where it's likely that a Cold War could turn into a hot war, it's in Ukraine. Ukraine, so far, or Europe so far, or the U.S. Russian relationship so far, has actually been more dangerous than the U.S. China competition. We've had no major crisis in East Asia involving the United States and China. So that Cold War has remained very cold, which is all for the good. But the war in Ukraine, and given some of the events that have taken place there, have made me worry greatly that the Cold War there would turn into a hot war.